Hello, everyone. Ciao An. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today at the 2022 Smart City Summit and Expo. It is an honor for me to address you today and present to you our work in the Circular Electronics Partnership, or CEP. My name is Caroline van Brunschot, and I am the lead for the CEP Secretariat. In the next few minutes, I'd like to share with you how CEP started, what we do, and how we operate. But first, I'd like to start with the need for a partnership like this. I am sure you're all aware of the statistics. E-waste is our fastest growing waste stream globally and currently just badly managed. Only 17% of the waste is formally collected and recycled, and over 80% is landfilled or processed informally. This is leading to environmental issues such as soil and water contamination, but as you know, also health impacts on populations involved in improper, informal e-waste recycling. The current management, or rather mismanagement, also leads to missed economic opportunities, as the Global E-Waste Monitor estimates. The total value of raw materials in global e-waste is approximately 57 billion USD, mainly coming from iron, copper, and gold in equipment. Making matters worse, ongoing digitalization, especially during the COVID-19 crisis, sees a push for companies and consumers to go more and more digital. In developing markets, digitalization and wider use of electronic devices is also driven by improved accessibility and affordability, which has major advantages when it comes to safe and sensible development, but it will have some major consequences for our ever-growing pile of e-waste, as well as for the resources needed to manufacture all these electronic devices. As e-waste is this industry's specific symptom of our general take, make, waste economic model, what we need is a circular economy for electronics. An economic ecosystem where, instead of extracting more resources from the earth and disposing our old devices in landfill and incineration, we reuse all products, parts, and material to their highest residual value through formal recycling channels and reuse, refurbish, remanufacture, and recycling cycles, ensuring that they circulate back into the economy after their end of life. Many materials in electronics last for much longer than the lifetime of a product, and we need to ensure that we can benefit from using those again and again and again and again. Since all the partners, all NGOs in CEP have the circular economy for electronics high on their agenda, we decided to join forces. Instead of running our own individual initiatives on circular economy for electronics, we decided to strengthen our efforts by offering the industry a more holistic and coordinated approach through this partnership. The current partners, as you can see on this slide, are the Global Electronics Council, the Global Enabling Sustainability Initiative, the Responsible Business Alliance, the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, and the World Economic Forum. In addition to these 5 partners, CEP has been supported by Accenture, and it works in close collaboration with the International Telecommunications Union, or ITU. By working in a coordinated effort, the CEP partners aim to continue to serve their members as we did previously, but now while avoiding, first of all, overlapping initiatives and doing double work, and potentially running projects with contradicting outcomes. Instead, we ensure that we build further on each other's work through this partnership towards a shared end goal, and we collaborate in cases of shared interests. This partnership started with a new circular vision for electronics report published in 2019. A collaboration between the World Economic Forum, ITU, and WBCSD The report called for a global reboot of the electronics value chain. Since then, these organizations reached out to GEC, GESI, and RBA to create an industry-wide platform of international organizations ready to mobilize towards electronic circularity. First, convening as 7 organizations at the end of 2019, the group quickly convened more than 24 companies to kick off the vision and road mapping process in Q1 of 2020. Through the pandemic and numerous Zoom calls, more than 80 people of over 30 companies and 7 organizations exchanged intensively for the next 6 months in detailing a roadmap for circular electronics. In March last year, we published a vision for circular electronics and the roadmap for how to achieve it. This event also marked the launch of CEP as the platform, the way that it operates today. Our vision for 2030, in short, is the circular electronics industry establishes and strengthens loops and maximizes the value of components, products, and materials throughout the full life cycle using safe and fair labor. It depends only on circular resources and generates economic value while having a greater positive social and environmental impact. For the more detailed version of our vision, understanding of what that means on the level of what we call circular pathways, you can find the short document on our website. In follow-up of the vision, we also published a CEP roadmap outlining actions to achieve that vision. In the second half of last year, we had the roadmap translated into Chinese for easier regional access to the content. You can find this translation on our website, cep2030.org. The CEP roadmap outlines 40 short actions across the 6 pathways spread over the product lifecycle. These actions have been identified as necessary to overcome the main industry-wide barriers for companies to move ahead on their circular ambitions. The 6 pathways are phrased as a call for the industry to, first of all, design for circularity, to drive demand for circular products and services, to scale responsible business models for circular electronics, to increase official collection rates, to aggregate for reuse and recycling, and to scale secondary material markets. The 40 specific actions are divided over a timescale until 2023, 2027, or 2030. I will not go into the specific actions today, but we invite you to explore the roadmap actions in the Chinese version or the English version of the roadmap. The dates in the timescale do not give an indication of when activities should start, but of the date we should aim to achieve them. One example is in Pathway 4. The action Strengthen Convenient Take-Back and Collection is planned to be achieved by 2030, but the steps to get there will be started right away. A short-term action until 2023 is tying take-back and collection to the business model, a project that I'll come back to you in a few minutes. You will see that some of the actions are interdependent, and we also specifically call that out throughout the document. A foundational activity, for example, is the definition of what constitutes circular design, which I'll tell you a bit more about in the next slide. You might notice that there are different colors on the roadmap. These relate to different groups of actors that we see are required for this action, from industry-led to industry with partners, and specific asks to governments, NGOs, academia, etc. Especially in Pathway 5, that aims to aggregate for reuse and recycling, engagement with policymakers is very important. Many planned actions relate to the cross-boundary movement of secondary materials and the opportunities for optimization of international procedures. without, of course, touching on the integrity of international conventions. This is just a small selection of some of the actions and the related projects. I invite you to take a look at the other actions in the roadmap. If there are actions that align very well with your current or future agenda, we hope that you can reach out to us, either as a collective of the TBCSD or as an individual company. We really need all the knowledge and expertise across regions and different parts of the value chain, and we are very interested in collaboration. Lastly, as CEP, we are very aware that we are not the only initiative working on circular solutions for the electronics industry. The roadmap, therefore, does not only set out our own agenda of projects, but it is an invitation at the same time to other initiatives active in the space to connect and to collaborate. With this dashboard, I'd like to show you the activities that have been undertaken over the last year. This is a schematic overview of all the roadmap actions and an indication of which actions are already being addressed through projects. Projects may not provide a full solution to the action, but represent the first start to address the underlying barrier. I will quickly discuss a few of the projects with you. As a foundation of all other efforts, we kicked off P1.1, Define Circular Products and Services, over the summer last year. The working group for this project looks at defining not so much the actual product characteristics, but the circular system that a product circulates in as a criterion for it to classify as circular or not. Together with over 20 companies in our membership, we are describing what that circular ecosystem should look like in detail. We call it the blueprint for the circular electronics industry. This piece of work will inform us on what solutions to all the other actions could look like. The blueprint is planned to be published mid-May this year. Another project that has kicked off, led by our CEP partner, Jesse, is P4.8, Tie Take-Back and Collection to the Business Model. This project aims to, 1, facilitate and guide the discussion on funding and finding business models for take-back solutions among the existing stakeholder group. 2, attract new and relevant stakeholders to the group to grow the initiative, complement the group, and increase the likelihood of adoption of project outcomes. And 3, ensure the project results in an actionable and concrete outcome, such as a pilot for new or upscale take-back solutions. RBA has recently kicked off their project, P6.2, EHS, Assurance for End-of-Life Processes, in which it will develop an assurance standard to provide a level of assurance for reclaimed materials comparable to industry best practices, so that electronics companies can more fully engage in a circular supply chain. This project is closely linked to P6.3, standardize material tracking and create a traceability platform, in which our members have the opportunity to pilot track and trace technology from our member company Security Matters. Then looking at some of the projects that are planned for 2022 to kick off, we see P2.1, Develop Guidance for Circular Electronics Procurement, a project collaboration between the Global Electronics Council and ITU, as well as P6.4, Increase Transparency on Secondary Material Demand and Supply, for which we are planning a kickoff in March on a cross-value chain dialogue between, on one hand, the ICT brands and manufacturers, and the other side, the chemical sector with resin suppliers, to jointly identify barriers for the increase in supply of secondary plastics and the opportunities for balancing demand and supply. Some of the project topics that are being discussed and are in the pipeline are around procedural improvements for trade facilitation, some best practices around proven circular business models, and how to account for avoided Scope 3 emissions through the circular economy. I'd like to show you this slide just to give you an idea of the timelines for this year. These are the projects that are planned for 2022 in a chronological order, together with a project leading organization. So, in a nutshell, since the launch in March last year, CEP has shifted from vision to action. CEP operates as an independent initiative. Hosted by WBCSD, CEP will continue to be an alliance for the 5 partners, and it will serve as a pre-competitive industry platform that establishes a network of networks, elevating the action and ambition of the industry in a coordinated way. Since the launch of CEP in March this year, we have seen a lot of interest from the industry, and we have been fortunate to see our membership of companies grow steadily. This community of companies provides us with a wealth of knowledge and expertise, fueling the projects that we run. They help us understand what is needed to make the industry move. In our aim to be able to say that we really represent the electronics industry, we always welcome new members to join, especially when they represent different parts of the value chain and different geographies. As you can see here, we are quite fortunate with the expertise covering the product lifecycle. However, there is still plenty of opportunities for Asian representation in our community. Since a substantial part of electronics manufacturing happens in Asia, we invite you to reach out to us if you would like to discuss membership. Members enjoy the following benefits, among others. They get to be involved in the implementation of priority actions from the roadmap, pre-competitive platform for co-developing solutions. They can help shape the priorities and actions that the CEP community undertakes. They learn from and work with the companies along the value chain. They can get recognition as an industry leader in circularity. They benefit from coordination and progress monitoring of major initiatives and stakeholders. And they get to be a part of a credible platform recognized across sectors to amplify messaging. If you see benefits for your organization to join us, I invite you to reach out for an introduction call. I will share my personal email address with you on the last slide, so you have a direct link to the CEP Secretariat, and we can set up a meeting to discuss the opportunities. That is it from my side today. I hope this presentation was an informative introduction to CEP. If you wish to receive any more information or have any questions, please use my email address here on the slide. We look forward to hearing from you. 感谢您的关注. I wish you a great conference. Thank you very much.